Hi. Today we are considering two big decisions that have recently come out of Washington. These decisions are making big waves in the Caribbean. They are the executive orders from US President Donald Trump, one targeting illegal migration, and the other shutting down the United States Agency for International Development, USAID. So let's break it all down. What's happening? What's the fact? What's the fear? And most importantly, what does it mean? Let's start with the first executive order, deportations. The fear across the 14 CARICOM nations is that they're about to see a massive influx of deported nationals from the United States. And not just any deportees. Some believe these deportees will be hardened criminals, a serious challenge for governments and our communities to absorb. But the reality may not match the fear. First, the majority of CARICOM nationals facing deportation aren't hardened criminals. If they were, they'd be detained. Instead, they fall into a category of what the United States calls non-detained individuals, people who overstayed their time, committed minor offenses like drug possession, or were caught driving under the influence of alcohol. Now, I'm not saying these aren't serious concerns, but they aren't the kind of these aren't the kind of mass deportations of violent criminals that some people fear. And here's another key point. Deportations of Caribbean nationals from the United States aren't new. This has been happening for years, going back to the Obama administration. US immigration authorities have long pressured governments to accept their deported nationals using visa restrictions as leverage. That didn't start with Trump. Now, let's talk numbers, because numbers don't lie. Right now, the US has a list of nearly 1.5 million non-detained people slated for deportation. Out of those, CARICOM nationals make up just 42,289 cases. And within that number, Haiti alone accounts for 32,363 and Jamaica for 5,120. Effectively, this means that for the other 12 CARICOM countries combined, there are just 4,856 cases. Compare that to countries like Honduras, Guatemala, Mexico, and El Salvador, where hundreds of thousands of individuals are in line for deportation. So even if the United States wanted to prioritize Caribbean for mass deportations, it just isn't possible. Each individual has to be located, detained, has to go through a legal process, and then repatriated. All that takes time and resources. And right now, the US Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, has much bigger priorities and far too few detention centers. So, what's the takeaway? Caribbean countries should now be planning for the return of their nationals because deportations won't happen overnight. But governments also need to insist that if the deportations occur, they be done lawfully and with dignity, not in a way that demeans our people. Now let's shift gears and look at the other executive order, the one that shutters the United States Agency for International Development. This agency was created back in 1961 by President John F. Kennedy. It's been a key player in American foreign aid for decades. And now, under the leadership of Elon Musk, that is Elon Musk, the man who owns X, the United States Department of Government Efficiency has decided to close it down. The big question is, what does that mean for the Caribbean? Well, here's the reality. Outside of Jamaica, US aid hasn't played a major role in CARICOM countries for years. And when you look at the numbers, you will see why. In 2023, USAID's global aid budget was about $44 billion. Out of that, Ukraine got 16 billion, Israel got 2.2 billion, and countries like Ethiopia, Jordan, and Afghanistan all received $1 billion each. What happened in the Caribbean? Not even a fraction of that. In total, CARICOM countries received about 456.2 million, just 1% of USAID's global spending. And guess where most of that money went? One country, Haiti, which received 393.8 million of the 456.2 million. Jamaica then got another 26 million, and Belize 19.8 million. And for the rest of the region, the other 11 countries, places like Dominica, Suriname, and St. Vincent, they got less than $500,000 each. Antigua and Barbuda, just $558,000. And even that was specifically for combating drug trafficking heading to the United States market. So while the end of US aid is a big headline, the truth is the impact in most Caribbean countries is very limited. Now, here's what Caribbean leaders, whether in government, business, or civil society, need to consider. First, US aid won't disappear entirely. It's moving into the US State Department. But that means future aid will be more politically driven, tied to US diplomatic priorities rather than our long-term development needs. We therefore have to adapt for that. Second, the Caribbean already gives more to the United States than it gets back. In 2023, CARICOM countries had a trade deficit of $7.4 billion with the United States, meaning we bought way more from them than we got in aid. In fact, our purchases of US goods basically financed all the aid we got and left with the United States still with a surplus of almost $7 billion. That's important because it means CARICOM has leverage. If we act collectively, we can negotiate a better deal with the United States, making the relationship more mutually beneficial. So what's the big conclusion from all of this? Yes, there's concern over US policy shifts, but let's separate fear from fact. Mass deportations of CARICOM nationals, not happening overnight. The loss of US aid, not as devastating as it sounds. Caribbean nations should be planning, working together to manage deportations and to redefine their relationship with the United States, using the $7.4 billion trade surplus we gave them in 2023 to leverage mutually beneficial arrangements. But that will take the unity of all, not separate actions by each. It's a moment of change, yes, but it's also a moment of opportunity. So thank you for listening. If you found this discussion useful, please share it with your friends. And remember to please like this page. Thank you very much.